Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll be starting shortly. We're going to wait a few minutes to have everyone else log on. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll be starting at 3:35. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please use the Zoom Q&A function. We have an account manager available to answer any and all questions.
Mitch here. I just want to say hello to Ann. How are you, dear?
Here.
Good to see you virtually, Ann.
How are you doing?
Doing well. How have you been?
Long time no see.
I know, I miss you.
I miss you too. Council will be starting, I'm sure, live pretty soon. I'm anticipating after your recess. Is that correct?
Yeah, we actually started mid-June. We started meeting live, but the public are still dialing in. And with this Delta variant running wild, we'll probably not open the building for some additional time now, but we are meeting in person in chambers now.
Yeah, so we'll be hitting the council offices and briefing them all on the program success story. So we're looking forward to that.
Excellent. I am as well. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, it's an interesting time.
Interesting times, and there's a lot going on in the 13th district, I'm happy to say.
Right, right. Well, thank you again for joining us today.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. We're going to start our presentation.
Okay, are we on? Okay.
We're on, Naveed.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Mildred, and welcome to our Navigating Contracting Opportunities in conjunction with Council Member Mitch O'Farrell today. We thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your day to be with us. And on behalf of myself, Naveed Barkhordar, and our team, over at 3D Networks, our outreach partners for the Contractor Development Bonding Program. We'd like to welcome you to yet another council district workshop that we've been hosting, and we've been doing these virtually for quite some time now, obviously since the pandemic began. We really appreciate each and every one of you taking your time to be with us today. So for those of you who have participated in these workshops in the past, or for those of you who are new, basically the objective for today's workshop is to kind of do three things. One is to learn a little bit about the city opportunities that currently exist within the city environment, if you will. We're going to hear from the Department of Water and Power, Los Angeles World Airports, the Port of Los Angeles, and hear a little bit about each of the upcoming opportunities that they all have. And we're also going to learn a little bit about how to do business with each of these departments. And then last but not least, we're going to also learn, obviously, about the Contractor Development Bonding Program and the resources that the City of Los Angeles has invested to bring to the small and emerging contracting community to grow your business and grow your bonding capacity and become more competitive in the public works landscape. But before we do all of that, we are privileged to be joined with the council member himself today during recess, so we really appreciate his time. Very quickly, I'll go ahead and just introduce the council member. So Council Member O'Farrell began his public service career in 2002 under the leadership of then Council Member Eric Garcetti. Mitch's experience as a field deputy, district director, and senior advisor to the former city council president provided Mitch valuable insight on how to make government work better for people across Council District 13. Mitch ran and was elected to office on May 21st, 2013 to succeed now Mayor Eric Garcetti as a council member of the 13th District. In the 13th District, council member represents the real Hollywood. He understands the value Hollywood brings to the city of Los Angeles, its history, and its brand, and its brand makes it a one-of-a-kind worldwide destination for the rest of the world. Mitch is working hard to enhance Hollywood, as evidenced by his new Heart of Hollywood's initiative. The council member has over $611 million slated for capital improvement projects in Council District 13, so a ton of opportunity. In addition, another one of Mitch's most important projects in the Los Angeles River, the birthplace of our city. The council member is enacting the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District for the LA River and believes that the coming restoration and revitalization improvements will benefit Angelenos recreationally, aesthetically, and economically. Councilmember O'Farrell is chair of the Energy, Climate Change, Environmental Justice, and River Committee, chair of the Ad Hoc Committee on the 2028 Olympics and Paralympics, a member of the Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19 Recovery and Neighborhood Investment, is a member of the Immigrant, Civil Rights, and Equity Committee, and on the board of Referred Powers. As a strong advocate of small and diverse businesses, Councilmember O'Farrell has been a staunch supporter of the city's Contractor and Development Bonding Program. Not only does he participate in the program, he is serving up project opportunities for our guest contractors to siege. Mitch and his partner George Brockman live together in Glassell Park with their dog Speedy. Please welcome Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell.
Naveed, thank you so much for that introduction. Really nice. And Ann D'Amato, so great to see you. And thank you, 3D Networks. And thank you, Meriwether and Williams Insurance Services and all the participants today and EWDD for this review and information event on city contracting. Naveed, as you're reading my biography, I am cognizant of the fact that for 9 years and 4 months, I was also Eric Garcetti's public works guy. And I really cut my teeth in public service through the Echo Park Lake renovation project, which I started on back in 2004 until we dedicated it in 2013 through the whole Prop O funding process, et cetera. And I've done multiple streetscape projects. We've got the whole Silver Lake master plan, the Silver Lake complex of lakes master plan project going on as well. You mentioned the Walk of Fame master plan. A lot of exciting projects. I know that this is a very unique time in our city's journey to becoming a world-class destination and a world-class collection of neighborhoods that Angelenos can be proud of. And I feel that that is my role as a public official and as an elected official at this time. So I'm really happy to be here and very honored to represent the 13th District. And I want to welcome everyone to this outreach workshop explaining this whole contractor development and bonding program. All of us, you, me, the entire city, state, and county have just gone through a global pandemic. We were at one point the hardest hit county in the United States, but we really rolled out the vaccinations quite well. We've plateaued here in this moment, but we are emerging from the pandemic in Los Angeles, and we're emerging strong. But our lives, family, friends, community have all been profoundly impacted. And it is my personal mission to play a role in helping us boomerang right out of this pandemic and the economic crash that we suffered into a strong, prosperous, thriving economy in Los Angeles. We badly need that to happen. So I intend on playing a role as a legislator in accommodating that success. That's what today is all about. I've partnered with my friends and colleagues to help bring this virtual event so we can keep this forward momentum in making LA that world-class city that I just mentioned. As we keep focusing the work in our communities, Los Angeles will not stop, never has, no matter what, we keep moving forward. The city's contractor development and bonding program is designed to expand your capacity as contractors and encourage your participation in construction projects throughout Los Angeles. And if you're a qualified contractor, chances are I'm going to have a project for you in my district. So, please go for it. This is a great opportunity for you to learn and take advantage of the valuable resources available to you free of cost. And as elected officials, we have fought hard to get this type of program implemented to help licensed contractors benefit from the public contracting opportunities. That is part of how we build a strong economy. We put people to work. The City of Los Angeles, through the Department of Public Works and its proprietary departments, Los Angeles World Airports, Department of Water and Power, and the Port of Los Angeles, are in the midst of a major multi-billion-dollar construction boom. News about new events and initiatives and construction projects are going to be coming out weekly, monthly in the coming weeks and months. So it's an exciting time to get a contract with the city. In Council District 13 alone, as Naveed mentioned, we have approximately $611 million in ongoing construction project opportunities. And Naveed also mentioned the 2028 Olympics. And since we're the host for that Olympics and Paralympics, there will be even more focus on developing critical projects in the near term. And I'm real big on supporting and enhancing existing venues and perhaps building a brand new venue or two. So I'm really focused as chair of that ad hoc committee on what, for example, our whole whitewater rafting course can look like. Will it be permanent? Can we build a permanent one? Or are we going to move forward with a multi-million-dollar temporary one? Those are the kinds of conversations that we're going to be having. And I'm pushing for a permanent one because that will leave recreational opportunities for Angelenos after the Olympics are long gone. Now is the time for you to get involved and grow your business. To successfully implement the program, Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation estimates we will need to fill over 750,000 positions countywide, touching on every aspect of projects from concept to construction. And in spite of these historic opportunities, there are still barriers to maximize participation from companies like yours. To reduce these obstacles, the City of Los Angeles implemented this very program that you're learning about, the Contractor Development and Bonding Program, to make sure we get these projects built. So please sign up, become a part of the program. We hope today's workshop will help you maximize your potential because we're counting on you to play a critical role in the economic comeback that I just talked about. So I want to thank you for your participation and persevere and learn all about it to maximize your own opportunities, this is the time to do it. So once again, it's my pleasure to meet and be with all of you today. I want to thank my team and staff, and especially our friends that have partnered to make today a reality. My good friend, D'Amato, who I haven't seen in a year and a half, but now I see her on a screen, which is better than nothing. But I can't wait to meet with all of you again in person. And Meriwether and Williams Insurance Services, thank you so much and have a really great workshop. It's a pleasure to introduce this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council Member. Thank you for your time. And more importantly, thank you for your support of this very important program and for all of the advocacy and support you do to help build capacity of small businesses. We truly appreciate it. So thank you for all of that. We appreciate it. Okay, so for those of you joining us, I see there's a few more signing on to the program. Welcome again to today's Navigating City Contracting Opportunities in conjunction with Council Member O'Farrell's office. This event is being brought to you again by the city's Contractor Development and Bonding Program, which is administered by our firm, Meriwether and Williams Insurance Services. And again, we thank our outreach partners, 3D Networks and Wendy, Mildred, for all of their efforts in producing and facilitating today's event. So with that, we'll jump right in. If Mildred or Wendy, we can bring up the presentation. We'll start with a little bit about the city's Contractor Development and Bonding Program and take it from there. For those of you who are not familiar with us, just very quickly, Meriwether and Williams Insurance Services is a full-service property and casualty insurance brokerage firm. We do a lot by way of construction consulting for large general contractors, public agencies, and we do some specialty programs for special event insurance. But what we are predominantly most known for are our contractor bonding and technical assistance programs. And obviously, you'll hear a lot more about that today as respects the city's contractor development and bonding program. Those are some of our offices that you see there. And a point that I share with all the members that participate in these events is that we too are a small woman minority owned firm. And the reason why I share that is because as many of you, we encounter some of the same challenges, barriers, obstacles that sometimes make it difficult to work with a public agency as large as the City of Los Angeles. So a lot of the technical assistance and supportive services that we deliver to our contracting community is customized and designed from a relatable mindset to the contractors that we are looking to assist. Next slide, please. So really, the mission of the program, if you will, is to reduce the barriers of bonding capacity, enable greater and successful participation of small, local, minority, women, and disabled veteran-owned businesses in public contract opportunities. And the image that you see there is really the process by which we do this. And over time, we've come to coin this as the 4 pillars of contractor development. And actually, in the coming slides, we'll talk a little bit about each of these pillars. Next slide, please. So before we get into the services, just a quick refresher or to put this into some context as to what bonding is, what it's all about. So really bonding is something that is primarily there or historically there for construction contractors, but over time has evolved to be required of procurement opportunities, not just in traditional brick and mortar construction. So what is bonding? Bonding really is a vehicle and an instrument that guarantees the completion of a contract. And as you see there are several components to this vehicle. Essentially, it's a 3-party agreement. And this 3-party agreement, which is the parties being the public agency or the project owner, yourselves as a contractor, and a bonding company that's providing the bond, all of that is there to essentially protect another party, not you. So it's very different than insurance. Insurance is there to protect you. A bond is there to provide protection and, more importantly, guarantee to the project owner that you as a contractor will deliver on the project. So unlike insurance, you cannot simply call up an agent and pay a premium for a policy and now you have an insurance policy. You actually have to go through a process to qualify for it. And the reason for that is, as you can see in the 3rd bullet there, unlike insurance, no losses are expected. So a bonding company, what they're doing essentially is they do a thorough underwriting and analysis of your business's capability and capacity, and basically tell a public agency or project owner that this contractor is qualified and will perform the project without any issues. They will go, they will deliver the project according to plans and specifications for the public agency that the bond is providing the protection for. And a very other unique element to bonding that doesn't exist with insurance is the concept of indemnification. So when you purchase an insurance policy, whether it be general liability, workers' compensation for your employees, or business auto, whatever it may be, those insurance policies are there to protect somebody else that you may have caused some sort of injury or damage to. And for that reason, there isn't the concept of indemnification. Whereas for bonding, indemnification does come into play. And indemnification is basically another document or an agreement that you sign to the bonding company that says that you as the business owner or the contractor will indemnify the bonding company in the event of a default. Because again, remember, the bond is there to provide that protection. They've done a thorough analysis and they're obviously, relying obviously on your performance, but they're guaranteeing that performance. So in the event that they, you as the contractor can't deliver the project and the bonding company now has to come and find another contractor to deliver the project, once that's taken care of and they've satisfied the obligation for the public agency, they now have an indemnity agreement where they can come after the contractor and recover for any damages that you as a contractor may have caused on this project. Why is bonding required? So first and foremost, it's required by law. So basically, and it goes back all the way to, again, that act there, it should actually show 1894, not 1984. But that Hurd Act, and then formally refined in 1935 by the Miller Act, basically instituted a requirement or regulation that anytime a contractor works on a public project being defined as any project where the money to fund the project is coming from taxpayer dollars, will need to be protected by payment and performance bonds. Again, that protection, which is really there to protect the taxpayer dollars, because it's you and I who pay taxes that are funding these public projects, and that's bonds are there to protect the entity that's the project owner. It also ensures that the owner receives the finished product at a negotiated price, which means that whatever price has been entered into will be kept. Ensures the public agency owner that all subcontractors and suppliers or vendors are paid. So the last thing that a public agency like the City of Los Angeles would want to deal with is a stop notice from, let's say, Benjamin Moore as a painting supplier to you as a contractor. Let's say you've procured or purchased $100,000 worth of paint. The city does not want your painting supplier to come and file a stop notice on the project because you haven't paid your supplier. So a bond protects against that as well. And then finally, and perhaps sometimes most importantly, it acts as a pre-qualification instrument for your ability. So many times, for those of you who've worked with large general contractors, you'll see that they have a pre-qualification program. And within that pre-qualification program, they'll require you to submit a bonding letter or bonding capability letter. And that's because it provides some sort of assurance for that general contractor or sometimes a public agency that you've gone through a process by a third company to vet your qualifications and essentially determine how much of a project you can take on. So a lot of benefits to the concept of bonding, but also obviously a requirement on many public agency contracts. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to expand on a lot of these services, but really, as I mentioned earlier, the program is there to help you obtain or increase your bonding capacity. One of the key ways that we do that is through what we call collateral support, which is identified there by the third bullet there, and I'll give an example of that. But we have a lot of different types of technical services. One of the first things that we do when you enroll into our program, and as the council member alluded to earlier, there is no cost to contractors participating in this program. This is a program that's been sponsored by the City of Los Angeles along with other public agencies in the Southern California region, and they've brought this program to you at no cost. So again, if anything piques your interest today and you are not currently participating in the program, we encourage you to follow up with us and see how you can participate. But one of the first things that we do once we do a very quick enrollment application, if you will, one-page simple application, the program will then pair you up with an account manager who's there to act as your business development liaison, if you will, to help you navigate your journey in the public works arena. Public works is quite different than residential or commercial construction. And for those of you who are new to public works, having somebody who's experienced in navigating the landscape, if you will, of public works could be quite helpful. So our account manager is there to assist you from A to Z. And the way they do that is actually through a work plan that we generate for you. And I believe in the coming slides, we'll have an example of that. But basically, your account manager will work with you as much as it takes, we'll spend time with you to basically determine where your business is at today and what you need to achieve over the next short-term period, long-term period, to basically take your business from point A to B to C and slowly but surely help you grow your contracting potential. And again, we'll expand on some of these services in more detail. Another thing that we provide, which is a critical element of the services program, is we offer a $3,200 cost subsidy for CPA prepared financial statements. For those of you who may be a little bit of a larger contractor, and by larger, I mean working on projects of about $1 million to $2 million and more, you may realize that once you get to that level, your bonding company will no longer rely on your in-house prepared financial statements, whether it be through QuickBooks or any other type of software that you may use to generate your financial statements. So the bonding companies will require CPA prepared financial statements. And for those of you who've obtained those, you've experienced that sometimes CPAs can charge a good amount of money for their services to deliver those statements. So what the program does is offer a cost subsidy, a one-time cost subsidy of up to $3,200 to offset your expense on those financial statements. And then we also have a communication that we send out each week that basically is a centralized source of project opportunities, pre-bid meetings, networking events, seminars, education events, whether we put it on or there are other agencies or resources that are putting them on. We kind of try to compile and gather all that information, synthesize it into one neat email communication and send that to you. Because again, we fundamentally understand that many of you as small businesses may not have the time and the leisure to browse 5, 6, 10 maybe different public agency websites to see what's coming up, what other opportunities may be out there, what educational opportunities are suited for you. We kind of do all of that for you and deliver that to you once a week in your inbox so that you have a centralized source to stay on top of events that may be of interest for you as a small business in the public works arena. Next slide, please. So again, just to expand a little bit, the assessment and work plan is the key tool that the account manager will work with you. The assessment is a tool that we use to assess your business. So we actually follow a model similar to bond companies to evaluate what's known as the 3 C's, your credit, character, and capacity. And essentially what we're trying to do for your business, whether a construction or construction-related business, is essentially determine what's your capability like today. And so we use that assessment tool to determine your position today. And then from there, the work plan is really the tool that we share with you electronically. And this could be a document that spans 4 or 5 to as long as 10, 15 pages long, basically determining by the recommendations that your account manager is making for you to sort of go through and follow. And the work plan is a document that we share with you electronically. So you may come across a lot of different hyperlinks and different links in there that the account manager will embed there for you, because the account manager may tell you you may need to get a certain certification or may need to meet with a certain resource referral that they're making available to you. And we don't want you, having to go through the motion of recalling what the account manager may have told you. So we embed all of that information there. So when it's, when you have the time, you can essentially click on one link and that online portal or that certification application will then open up for you and you can proceed to follow the recommendation that's being made for you. Another key service that we provide is a contractor profile. So this is an equivalent of a capability statement, which essentially is there to help you promote and market your businesses. Throughout the 15 or actually 20 plus years of facilitating and administering these programs, we realize that a lot of the smaller businesses that apply to our programs don't have the tools to help market, advertise, and promote their firm. So what we actually do is create the equivalent of a capability statement. We call it a contractor profile. And essentially, this is a capability statement that's geared towards projects and pursuits in the public arena landscape. So we'll give an example of that, I think, in the coming slides as well. Obviously, our account managers in the program will help you in obtaining certifications. So I know there's a lot of different certifications out there, and you'll hear a lot about them from the different representatives from the city today. But sometimes it's daunting for a new business to know which certification you need to apply for, which one should I do first, maybe which one can I hold off for some time. So our account manager will kind of coach you and tell you, okay, this is a certification, whether it's a small business enterprise or a disadvantaged business enterprise, that's better suited for where you're at today to start with first. So they'll offer that expertise, if you will, to navigate the certifications platform. I'm going to defer on the bid document review and contract monitoring to my colleague, Robert Lowry, who's more of an expert in this field, but I'll just share that we do a lot by way of coaching specific project opportunities that you may be pursuing. So, we not only help you get the adequate bonding, but we want to make sure that you're mindful of what the opportunity you're going after actually calls out for. Many times small businesses are so eager to sign on the dotted line that they kind of, fail to account for any sort of nuanced detail sometimes in a plan or a specification that sometimes could be a pitfall for small businesses. So Robert, who you'll hear from shortly, actually can potentially review your plan, your bid, and even do a preliminary review of the contract that you're about to enter into, so that you have some other eyes and ears, if you will, in terms of reviewing the contract that you're about to enter into. We do a lot by way of monthly workshops and coaching. So there's a whole array of educational opportunities, seminars that the program convenes. We have a fully blown out, if you will, comprehensive construction training academy. So some of you may have attended boot camps or academies sponsored by public agencies, and they're all well in their own right. But what our academies do is we actually go granular in nature and have them be very hands-on in nature. So actually the image to the right is some images from some previous academies. They're not so much theoretical, they're actually very practical and hands-on. Participants in these classes will actually do, for example, there's an image there, quantity takeoffs. These are actual, we actually partner with prime contractors, larger general contractors that are working on, some of the larger projects out here in Los Angeles. They send their estimators over to the program and do a thorough dive, if you will, of different elements, whether it's bidding and estimating or how to successfully manage a contract award, make sure you're compliant with schedule of values. So very practical and hands-on in nature. And then our Prime Partnership Program is where we actually work very intimately and closely with larger general contractors who know that we have a program of qualified bondable contractors. And they oftentimes come to us and say, hey, I just received a pretty large project with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, and I have a goal of 25% to meet for SBE. Can you send me, they'll call us and say, can the program send us qualified, bondable, SBE, WBE painters that are bondable up to $750,000. So we manipulate our database for those parameters and feed that general contractor with a list of potential subcontractors that meet those qualification requirements. And in many instances, we hear back that, the general contractor may have picked somebody from the list that we've referred over to them. Next slide, please. So here very quickly is an example of the work plan and the contractor profile. The document to the left is that work plan. So as you can see, it's not meant to be read here. Obviously it's small, but you can see some of those blue hyperlinks in there. And again, this is a tool that's meant to be a working in progress tool. So in other words, it's a working document, can be refined at any time between you and your account manager to basically determine what recommendations that have been in there have you already met or have passed, and essentially try to fold in any new recommendations or guides that the account manager may make for you. To the right is the contractor profile, and you may not be able to make it out here, but as I mentioned, this is geared towards profiling and marketing your firm in the public works arena. So at the very top, front and center, is certifications. Certifications, obviously, for small businesses are of paramount importance, and so we call those out front and center. Obviously, your bond capacity, your services, NAICS codes, which some of you may be familiar with, North American Industry Classification System. It's a tool that allows nationally to determine what classification your business is in, what types of services you provide. So that's referenced here, and obviously, a little bit about what your business does and some of your notable projects. So again, a neat tool that the program and your account manager will create on your behalf for you. Next slide, please. So very quickly, this is an example of how the collateral support works. So if you look at the top row there, a contractor currently has $500,000 in available bond capacity. So that means that the contractor has gone through the motions of identifying an agent and a bonding company, and basically a bonding company has done a thorough analysis of the contractor's credit, character, capacity, and has determined that this contractor can do a public works project up until $500,000. So essentially, a bonding company is setting the threshold upon which you can work in a public works project that requires a bond. And let's say you, as the contractor, have done a few projects under that threshold. So you've done, maybe $400,000, $300,000, or even a $500,000 project. But now you've come across an opportunity where you've done your pricing, and now your estimate is approaching $1 million. So obviously, you don't have the bonding capacity to submit a bid for $1 million project. So without a program like this or other resources that may be out there, technically speaking, you wouldn't be able to submit a bid for $1 million because you don't have the bonding capacity to support $1 million bid. So what this program does, and we do this, we've been doing this successfully for about 21 years now, is we actually work with you, your agent, and your bonding company. So we do not interrupt that relationship if you already have a bonding agent and a company that you're comfortable with. Obviously, if you don't have one, we will refer you over to one that we work with. But what essentially we would do is take a look at the opportunity, take a look at your qualifications, and in many instances, get into a negotiation with the bonding company and say, hey, we understand that you've given this contractor up to $500,000 in available bond capacity. How about if we give some extra collateral support to take them from $500 to $1 million so that they could bid this job? And in many instances, a bonding company will take that as a risk mitigation tool or risk mitigation feature, if you will, to make them be more comfortable in extending that $500,000 to $1 million for this particular pursuit. And this happens, by the way, all the time. This is commonplace in the industry. Many contractors, not just small, large contractors, oftentimes are pledging assets, whether it be in the form of real estate, equity in properties, cash or cash equivalents, or securities, whether it's life insurance policies, whatever it may be, any sort of asset, they will pledge that to a bonding company to get them to the level that they need to be. And the City of Los Angeles and other public agencies that have invested in these programs recognize that many small contractors may not have, the cash or the asset to pledge to a bonding company and let them, sit on a $250,000 check from the contractor until the project is over. In fact, if a contractor, a small contractor, has that type of capital, it's probably better suited to be used for early upfront costs on a public agency project, because as all of you, I'm sure, know, sometimes public agencies take a bit of time to pay their contractors. So it's, it's important for you as contractors to have as much capital, liquid capital available to sustain yourself early on a public agency project. So again, what you see here in this example is what the program can potentially do in this example is provide $250,000 on your behalf, pledge that in the form of what's called an irrevocable letter of credit, which is the equivalent of cash, to the bonding company and say, here, bonding company, take this $250,000 on behalf of this contractor, and that would further induce the bonding company to essentially give you a bond for $1 million. So again, a very key, tangible financial investment that public agencies have made available for small contractors to take advantage of and really, grow their contracting potential. And this has worked, countless times. And it's one of the reasons why we've been successful in administering these programs throughout the state of California with many different public agencies. We on this note, I must say, we really appreciate the public agencies that sponsor these programs, because they recognize that this is a key benefit to help contractors grow their bonding capacity, and at the end of the day, help them grow their businesses and become more competitive amongst the public works landscape. Next slide, please. So very quickly here, just 2 examples. The first one is actually out with the Los Angeles World Airports. And this is interesting because it's not your typical construction project. This is an IT project. So historically, public agencies don't necessarily require bonds on IT projects. However, throughout time, they've come to require bonds. And so here was an example of a contractor that has been working, on many IT projects, both public, residential, commercial, whatever you have. But they never had bonding, and slowly but surely we helped them grow up to $3 million in bonding capacity, which they were using. And then they came across an opportunity with the airport where their pricing was about, as you can see there, $5.7 million. And the bonding company said, the only way we'd give this bond is to collect this $250,000. So surely we, pledged that collateral amount, which in this case amounted to only 4.3%. And that contractor was able to submit the bid, be the lowest bidder, and enter into this contract. And then I believe this contract may now be over, but have successfully completed this contract. So again, you see both in a non-traditional construction type of a procurement or solicitation opportunity, how this collateral support can potentially help a contractor grow their bond capacity and secure the bonds necessary for a larger opportunity. The same for the Port of LA, but on a much smaller scale. So this contractor, this was several years ago, came to us to pour some concrete out at the Port of Los Angeles. Never had any bonding capacity. I believe at the time they've only done some residential work, came across this opportunity that they thought was a good deal for them. It was only $23,000, so small, relatively speaking, by most standards. But because it was their first bond, the bonding company wasn't comfortable in giving them the bond for $23,000. So they approached our program, and sure enough, after our review, we pledged 40% of the project, amounting to that $9,000, as collateral to help this contractor get the bond. So much smaller in nature, but at the same time, this key benefit of the program helped this contractor to land their very first public works opportunity. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this contractor is now doing in excess of $600,000 in bonded projects without any collateral support. But again, this was their first bonded project that they were able to achieve through the collateral support services of the program. So a very, very tangible and effective tool in helping contractors secure bonding capacity. Next slide, please. Okay, great. I have the distinct privilege of introducing my colleague, my partner in crime, Robert Lowry. He's our expert, or what I call our construction resident expert. He comes to us with a lot of knowledge and many years, decades of experience in the construction management arena, both for a large general contractor, public agency, as well as a small contractor. So has multiple different perspectives, and he's our go-to for in the field services that we have and all the support services that we bring to our small contracting community from a technical standpoint. So Robert, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Naveed. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm gonna go through some of the bid document review support that Naveed mentioned earlier. So we also want to make sure, we have a disclaimer that said, it's a courtesy that we do this bid document review. We are mainly focusing on the content of the documents and not your numbers. So we want to make sure that you're the most responsive bidder when it's time when you submit your numbers. So as part of this bid document review, we attend the pre-bid, when they're advertised, myself or the account manager will attend and get some more of the insight information about that, obtain the plan, specs, and review it. we also do the contract review. So if once you're awarded the job, would like to get a copy of the contract to review it. So if there's any red flags, so you are aware of it, so you can negotiate your terms and conditions before you sign on the dotted line with that. Like I said, we also review the plans and specs with you. That's one of my fortes there. Like Naveed said, I've been in the field for decades, and I've run jobs in the field as a superintendent / project manager. So I know a lot of this stuff. Also, we assist with identifying risks, and that will help you successfully complete the project, without any claims on your bond, etc. And then as we're going through the bid documents, we will also identify the bid documents that you're required to fill out. Like I said, we will review those a couple times and make sure that everything is filled out and before you submit. And then we also will do the courtesy of a final bid document review after we have went through everything and you have filled in all your numbers to make sure that they all match up with the different documentations, because you don't want to have any mistakes with that. And then we also will do a post bid debrief, and you're also entitled to contact the GC or the agency to request a debrief if you were not the successful bidder, so you can learn where your mistakes are, your deficiencies, so that way you can improve. And a lot of times, if you're going to the city, you'll see the numbers there, but if you're going to a prime, they might not show you the numbers, but they'll give you percentages, so you'll know how to improve. So, and that's one thing I can also sit with you and go through those deficiencies to assist you, so the next time you bid, you have a better chance of winning the project. Next slide, please. So once you have executed the contract, we like to attend the project kickoff with you and go through a job start checklist. This way you identify everything that you need for this job before you mobilize, etc. Is just a key thing that you do your homework up front, because you do not want to be the one that's holding up the job from completing because of liquidated damages. Then also we do a contract and principal status report monthly. So this is kind of like the check-in where you fill out this 2-page report, and I will compare it with the hiring agency to see if there are any discrepancies, like percent complete, your billing. Once we are allowed to go back out in the field, I do monthly project visits to work with your team in the field to see if there's any identifying obstacles or challenges that we would like to, assist you with. Also, we do courtesy checks on your billings and payments to make sure that that is filled out, correctly. And we review the schedule, because that is a critical thing there as far as when you're filling out your billing, your schedule of values, because all that works together. And we also have a sample of the site visit report. So I just like to go through that real briefly so you can see what it kind of looks like. So here's an example, of what the report that I use, and I also can share this with the hiring agency as well. And this is more of a tool that I use internal and work with you. So it has a lot of the information. So some of the topics that we discuss is the contract documents. We put in what we discuss at that meeting, scope of work, the schedule, the cost, because that is a ongoing daily thing with the cost. With change orders, that is how to reconcile, how to put change order requests packages together to submit. A lot of the times there's paperwork that's missing, and you're going to be delayed on getting approval on change orders. So this is just an example of what the report it looks like. And then on the last page, I do assign action items, and then we do a follow-up to make sure that things are getting done. So that's critical for you to grow on your capacity. As you can see, safety is another thing that we talk about, QA, QC, because that is critical things that we need to talk about. Thank you. And I briefly talked about change orders requests. That is one area that is one of my strong fortes as well. I just completed teaching a couple workshops on change order management. And the proper thing is having a very detailed change order log. As I say, with change order requests, it tells a story and the documentation. So like this example here, a PCI is your internal tracking number. And then the description is like, what is this change order for? Then you want to go into more detail with the scope, the type of change order. There's change order to the owner, or no change to the owner, the statuses, the date, submittal date, the revenue, the categories, and if there's like impact. So this form here, we can set it up to where you can be comfortable to work with it. And then there's filters, so you can see what has been approved, what's still being submitted. So there's a lot of things that this one tool can help you with your business as well. All right. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Mildred.
Thank you, Robert and Naveed, for presenting on the Contractor Development and Bonding Program. And before we go on to the rest of the panelists from Bureau of Engineering, Department of Water and Power, LAWA, and POLA, we have a poll question. So I'll go ahead and open that up and launch. I'll give the audience 30 seconds to respond. Thank you all for your answers. So I'll turn it back to Naveed, who will introduce our first panelist from Bureau of Engineering, Jesus Fuentemillas.
Yes, very, thank you, Mildred. And before I introduce Jesus, just very quickly, we'll now turn this over to our friends over at each of the city departments to share a little bit about some of the work that they have going on, along with how you can do business with them. And we're privileged to have Jesus, who's always joins us. Jesus is a civil engineer with the Project Award and Contractor Control Division at the Bureau of Engineering over at Public Works. Jesus, thank you for being with us again today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Naveed. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Jesus Fuentemillas. Next slide, please. Public Works is made up of 5 different bureaus: street lighting, sanitation, Bureau of Construction Administration, street services, and of course, Bureau of Engineering. So there's comprised of 5 bureaus. Next slide. For engineering alone, we have around, as you can see, 733 projects, all the way from pre-design to post-construction. Last year, we awarded $105 million for that fiscal year. It was lower than most years because of COVID, but I do see a lot of projects coming in, getting green lighted. So next slide, please. Types of projects we have: sewers, storm drains, streets and sidewalks, municipal facilities, that's fire and recs and parks, fire department and police department facilities, and anything else, bridges. last one. So next slide. So if there's anything else that you need to take from this presentation, it's LA Babin. Make sure you're registered there, your company registered. My colleagues that's going to present will also talk about this. So make sure you're registered here to get the, the projects that's going to be coming up. Make sure you're certified, MBE, WBE, SBE. Get the correct NAISC classification code. That's your industry code that, what you work on. So if you go on the internet under eng.lacity.org and click on contractors, you'll see I circled here anticipated construction projects to bid. This is where you can locate all the different projects that's going to come up within the next 3 months to a year. I've also have an arrow here for the current plan holders list. So if you're interested in a project that's currently out to bid, you can click on that and see which ones have, which companies, which primes have downloaded the plan. So, you can network and talk to them. Next slide, please. So this is the anticipated projects to bid. As you can see, there's a few pages of this. This shows street, wastewater, sewers, and building facilities that's up for bid. So as with everybody else, we give the projects to the lowest responsible bidder. There is a mandatory subcontracting minimum. So if you're a subcontractor, you can participate. The only time this goes below 25% is if the project is very specific. For example, if we have an HVAC project, there's pretty much, there's not much to subcontract on that type of project. We give credit for local business preference up to 8%. So if you're a prime contractor, we take off 8% of your bid, and that's what we consider as your bid. Also, we consider subcontractors for LBP also with their bid. I also have to tell you that federal funded projects, a prime must be registered with sam.gov. And there will be pre-bid meetings on these projects. We don't say it's mandatory, but we'd like you to participate so that you can have credit under your NAISC code. Next slide. Okay, so I'll show you some of the projects that we have, some exciting projects we have at the engineering. This is the Paseo del Mar project. It's an $18 million project. There was a landslide here a while back, and they're proposing a new bridge and some slope stabilization. Next slide. Possible subcontracting opportunities for this includes grading, soil anchors, landscaping. Of course, there's new roads, so new road striping and paving, excavation and holloway, pile installation for the bridge, traffic control, and some electrical work that could possibly come up. Next slide. Here's another project. It's coming up pretty soon this year. It's a $22 million project. It's more than a mile in length, widening. So it's mostly a street project, improvements and all that. Next slide, please. Possible subcontracting here is, again, paving. There's a railroad nearby, so there's most likely some traffic control. Landscaping, traffic, signage and signal, excavation and hallways, and road striping. Next slide, please. Here's another project on Council District 8, which is a $5 million project. It's a complete street project. And construction will start in 2022. It's now just in the design phase. So it's a street project. Next slide, please. As you can see, same subcontracting opportunities as the last one. And so there you go. Next slide, please. And again, we asked you to register on Bavin, which is, we're transitioning it to a new website. I believe it's called Angelino. It'll be called Angelino. We have a lot of projects coming out that I see in the pipeline, especially because the feds have given us a lot of money because of COVID. So a lot of projects are getting green lighted, and it's a great opportunity for construction and to participate in all these projects. So, and that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Jesus. As always, we appreciate your time and for sharing some of the opportunities with Public Works. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Next up, we have Jason Kim, who's a management analyst with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. And we're grateful to have Jason with us today. Jason?
All right. Thank you, Naveed. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Kim, and I'm from the Office of Small Business and Supplier Relations at LA Department of Water and Power. I'm here today to talk to you about doing business with LADWP and things you should be aware of if you're interested in doing business with LADWP. Next slide, please. Just some quick things about LADWP. We are the largest municipal water and power utility in the nation. We serve 4 million residents and businesses in Los Angeles. And last year in 2020, we awarded $1.2 billion in contracts for goods and services. Next slide, please. I'm just going to quickly talk about the two main methods in which we do purchasing here at LADWP, which are both through a competitive bidding process, which are IFBs, invitation for bids, and RFPs, which are requests for proposals. Next slide, please. IFBs, or invitation for bids, are typically used for construction projects, materials, equipment, rental, and non-professional services, sometimes referred to as low bid, or in the past as sealed bid. For IFBs, no exceptions are allowed, meaning bids must conform to all terms, conditions, and specifications of the IFB. And IFBs are awarded to the lowest priced, responsive, and responsible bidder. Next slide, please. Next, we have the RFP, the request for proposal. This method of purchasing is typically used for professional, expert, technical, or other complex services, including design, build, construction. RFPs have a predetermined evaluation criteria, such as technical, management, and past experience, as well as a cost factor. For RFPs, exceptions may be allowed, and negotiations may take place, and RFPs are awarded to the highest scoring proposer based on stated selection and evaluation criteria. Next slide, please. As Jesus was mentioning before, how to participate, make sure you register on LA Bavin. Here, when you do register, you can view open contracting opportunities. You can create a profile and you'll automatically be notified of new postings. You can also download documents associated to posted opportunities. You can find other information such as past awards to gauge if you are in the competitive range, and also you can take a look at what the city does purchase in the past. Next slide, please. I'm just going to quickly talk about some programs you should be aware of if you're interested in working with LADWP, one of them being the Small Business Enterprise and or Disabled Veterans Participation Program. As a prime subcontractor, you'll be required to subcontract a percentage of your contract to a certified SBE or DVBE is basically what this is. This program applies to most contracts over $150,000 for services, construction, and rental with operators. A contract-specific mandatory SBE and or DVBE participation requirement is set as a percentage of the contract, like I mentioned before. And bidders who do not meet the minimum mandatory SBE DVBE participation requirement will be deemed non-responsive. And LADWP's annual overall goal is 25% for SBE participation and 3% for DVBE participation. Next slide, please. And some preference programs I want to briefly talk about are the Local Business Preference Program and the Small Local Business Program. If you are eligible for these, I believe these are certifications you can get, and you get up to an 8% preference for eligible certified local business enterprises for contracts over $150,000 with a $1 million preference cap, and for SLBPs, a 10% preference for eligible, if you're eligible for contracts under $100,000. So if you are eligible for these, I highly encourage you to sign up for them. It will give you a small edge when being considered for a bid. Finding opportunities. This is Supply Line. Supply Line is a newsletter supply chain services that LADWP publishes quarterly. It's very helpful. It gives you an 18-month look ahead at the upcoming contracts at LADWP. It gives you general information about target dates, of when the contract will be advertised, a brief description of the kind of work, the estimated amount. So in order to find this, you can go to www.ladwp.com/supplyline. I highly suggest you take a look at this if you want to do business with LADWP. It's very informative. Again, that's ladwp.com/supplyline. Next slide, please. And to wrap it up, just some tips to get your business ready. Again, register on labavin.org. Have all licenses ready and just ready to go. If you are eligible for SBE, DVB, or LBE certifications, make sure you have those ready to go. And make sure you have your LA Business Tax registration certificate. Every person who engages in a business with the City of LA is required to obtain a tax registration certificate or obtain at least an exemption. And you can obtain these at the Office of Finance website at finance.lacity.org. Next slide. And finally, just some hints and tips. Perform due diligence and be prepared. Understand the statement of work or the specification and the requirements of the contract. Make sure you attend the pre-bid and proposal meetings. Network with the prime contractors if you're sub, remain visible to them. Be responsive and responsible when filling out the bids, and do not give up. Next slide. If you have any questions or if you need any help, you can contact the Office of Small Business and Supplier Relations at supplierrelations.office@ladwp.com or at the phone number there. Or you can also contact the LADWP Vendor Liaison Contact Center, which is PurchBids, PURCH bids at ladwp.com, or the phone number listed there. And that'll be all from me. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you for also sharing some helpful tips. Really appreciate it. Next up, we're fortunate to have Clarence Espinoza, who's also a management analyst at the Los Angeles World Airport. And before I turn it over to Clarence, I do see some folks who've raised their hands. We'll take questions towards the end, and we hope to have our partners over from the city over to stay with us for a few minutes towards the end to answer any questions. So we'll take questions at the end. And with that, we'll turn it over to you, Clarence. Thank you for being with us today.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Move to the next slide. Well, one of the things that we do, and this of course is Los Angeles World Airports, we are currently the ranked number 3 in the world for passenger service. Back in 2019, we had 88 million passengers. We won't have that this year, obviously, because of COVID, but the trend is right now we're doing very well in terms of number of passengers coming in and out of Los Angeles. We also run Van Nuys Airport, which is one of the busiest general aviation airports. And then we also have the land that used to be Palmdale Airport. So while we say 3 airports, we actually run 2 and basically some property. Next slide. All right, so just like everybody else, we do a number of different things. We procure on average about $1.5 million of goods every day. When you think about materials, supplies, pens, toilet paper, dog food, a whole bunch of other things. And that's just on our procurement side. But when you talk about contracts, we currently are running over $14 billion in different proposals. Many of those are construction projects that we'll talk about, but we also have professional services and on-call contracts. So a lot of opportunity that's currently happening now and moving into the future. Next slide. So again, you heard about all the different certifications. These are a list of the certifications that we utilize at the airport. And I guess the way you would separate these are between what is a local or city project, and then what's considered a federal project. Anything on the land side is basically city owned and local. Anything on the tarmac side where the airplanes are would be considered airside, and those are mostly federal projects. That's a good way of determining what you're going to be doing. There is a special certification for airport businesses, which is the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. That's important because when you have that certification and you provide a product or service to an airport, you can supply it to every airport in the country. So getting that certification is not only usable here, but it's usable all over the place. Next slide. So the way you get certified is through the Bureau of Contract Administration. We actually have employees that are embedded in the Department of Contract Administration for airport projects. So definitely you want to look at those opportunities to do that. Certification is good in every city department, and the airport is no different. Next slide. Just like the other proprietary organizations, we also have all of our bids with Bavin. Every department in the city does. And so that would be your first place to do research relative to any type of bids or other projects that are upcoming. Next slide. So again, our division, Business and Social Responsibility, we want to make sure that we give everyone the opportunity to compete for the different types of projects that are available. And we do that by a number of different ways. One thing that we do is we have a monthly seminar similar to this, calling How to Do Business with LAWA. And it talks about all of the things that we're hearing now, but we kind of centered more on what's happening at the airport in terms of projects and services that are needed. Next slide. So again, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it bite by bite. These are the different projects or bites that you see. And some of those are in the millions of dollars, and you see the 2 at the top or in the 3 at the top or the billions of dollars. So there are major tenant projects going on, and those are basically refurbishings of different parts of the airport. So if you look at Terminal 1, Terminal 4, we did some things at Terminal 6 a couple of years ago, Tom Bradley Terminal. All of those projects are what we consider major tenant projects. The land projects are landside projects. We're doing infrastructure on our utilities and environmental, a lot of IT. We talked about the ACANS project that was mentioned earlier. And then there's also studies that we're doing, that are all connected. So all of that goes into the over $14 billion that we're talking about. And there are opportunities for a number of different prime, sub, secondary, tertiary contractors in all of these. Next slide. So this is a histogram basically showing you some of the projects that are going on. As you can see with the different colors and also the money that's involved, you can see that some projects are happening concurrently, others are kind of going a little bit longer. We have a number of different types of projects. We are in the process now of building our people mover, which should be operational in time for the Olympics. We're also doing our consolidated rent-a-car facility, which is going to put 4,600 new parking spaces at LAX to hopefully bring a lot of traffic out of the central terminal area. And also they're doing a connector with the metro so that in some cases you won't need to use your car at all. And that's the plan. Next slide. So what you need to do, first and foremost, know the agency. Research is there. I mean, the information is there. Understand the projects, because that's going to help you very much. Every bid proposal has administrative requirements, and they're generally the same. However, there may be some nuances here and there depending on which agency you're with. But those things are important, because if you don't follow those, it could deem you non-responsive. So you don't want that to happen, especially if you go through all of the hassle of putting a bid in the first place. Develop relationships with the agency staff. This way, with us, with Meriwether and Williams and a couple others, you can build relationships. It'll help you to kind of decide where to put your time in terms of the types of bids that you want to take on. And attend workshops like this, because you're never going to get everything today. You'll have to continue to go to a couple of these and pick up things along the way. The more you go to these, the better questions you're going to ask, the more you're going to get that aha moment that's going to make you feel comfortable to move forward with the other things. Certification obviously is important. So you want to always be certified. Make sure that your certification is up to date. Focus on what you do and do it well. Look at ways to, enhance yourself with training, mentoring, and that type of thing. Understand what finances are all about, and cash flow. That's very important. You don't want to get into a situation where you underbid yourself and now your money is not right, and then you can't pay your employees and that type of thing. Networking, very important. It is, there may be a situation where while you may not be able to do the full job, you could joint venture with somebody, and that could be the bid. That LLC could be the bid that makes it. We utilize project labor agreements, and we do that in many cases to help even the playing field in terms of small and minority businesses. Understand, again, the customer, the project design, all of those things are good for you. As we mentioned, planning for the gap, meaning that time where, between when you submit your invoices and when you get paid, you want to make sure that every I is dotted, T is crossed. And again, build in profit into your bid. Very important, because we don't want to cheat you and you don't want to cheat yourself. Next slide. So again, this is the Business, Job, and Social Responsibility Division of LAWA. We can be reached at that email address. And if you have more questions or information, you can call 424-646-7300. Next slide. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Clarence. We really appreciate all the information you shared. And Clarence touched upon a lot of helpful information in terms of what you as contractors should do. I want to emphasize, as Clarence alluded to earlier, take advantage of the resources available to you by the city's Contractor Development Bonding Program, because a lot of those elements we can certainly assist you with and help you traverse the opportunities at the airport. So thanks again, once again, Clarence. Appreciate it. We were scheduled to have Ed Hahn, but I just found out a few moments ago that he had an emergency come up and won't be available with us. So what I'll do as soon as I get this from, oh, there we go, it's up here. So just for those of you who are interested in working with the Port of Los Angeles, I don't have all of the details and information that Ed would typically share, but what you see here before you is a few of what I believe are the upcoming opportunities that the Port of Los Angeles has available for contractors. And again, we will certainly make all of this information available to you. For those of you who are participating in today's event, we will be sharing with you the slides and the recording of this event, and more importantly, share with you the contact information for each of our friends at the departments and within the city of Los Angeles. But what you have here before you, and I'm sure this can be seen in much more granular detail on Bavin and perhaps even within the website at the Port of Los Angeles, is some of the upcoming opportunities. What I would point out, and I mentioned this at our last event, is you'll see that there are some opportunities there that are in fact not all that large. So for those of you who are, smaller contractors and are looking to potentially get your feet wet with some small procurement opportunities at the Port of Los Angeles, there are quite a few there that I see, that are there. This, for example, the Caltrans pedestrian path and parking restriping. That's about $889,000, if I can make that number correct. And a few others there. So, take advantage of these opportunities. And as I mentioned earlier, if your bonding capacity is not does not meet your bid for any one of these opportunities, take advantage of the program. We can potentially provide collateral support on your behalf to get your bonding capacity at a level where you can submit a bid and compete for any one of these opportunities, either with the port or any of the agencies that presented here today. So with that, let's go to the next slide, please, Mildred. Next one. I believe we have a few poll questions. We'll do that, and then we'll entertain some more questions that are coming in either through the Q&A or the chat.
Thank you, Naveed. So we have our second poll question. I'll give the audience 30 seconds to respond. Thank you, everyone. This is the third and final polling question. And it reads, was this workshop helpful? I'll give the audience 30 seconds to respond. Thank you, everyone, for answering our questions. And so the Q&A is managed by an account manager. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and enter them there, and we'll have our account manager answer them live.
And I will add to that, Mildred, that I'm looking here. It seems like we have our own Michelle Carante, who's one of our account managers, answering some of these questions here in the chat. So Michelle, we appreciate you responding to some of these questions. There's a question there that actually piqued my interest. I believe it came from Eric Anderson. Is there a way to see how much work is available or has historically been for a specific NAICS codes? And I see that, Michelle, you've answered that. I would add to that this is an interesting question because we actually work pretty closely with the Chief Procurement Office or the Procurement Office at the City of Los Angeles. And what we understand is, as you heard, I believe some of the presenters allude to earlier, that the city is looking to replace BAVIN. And I believe one of the key features that will be coming available is, in fact, this, to see the historical data that may have been, there for procurement opportunities at the city. I don't know if they're going to make it available by NAICS code, but in addition to what Michelle shared, what we'll do as far as the program is concerned is we'll also escalate this with the procurement office and see if we can get a response for you, because I think that is a pretty insightful resource if they can make that available to you. But Michelle did allude to that, most, if not all, of the opportunities are there as public information. So you can definitely, BAVIN has a lot by way of historical procurements. If there is something there that, you see that you want to find out more information on, I'm sure the city can make available to you. But we'll also further escalate this question. And I think that's pretty much it. I see a few more stuff coming in the Q&A, but it seems like these are just trying to get some contact information. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll make this presentation available to all participants. If there aren't any more questions, I believe we're nearing the end. Is there any more slides, Wendy or Mildred, on this? Okay, great. So that's our contact information. By all means, if anything that we shared today has piqued your interest or you're curious to learn more about what the program can do for you or how to connect with any one of the city agencies that presented today, you have our information there before you. You can email us at inwis.info@inwis.com or give us a call at the number there. And like I said, we'll be more than glad to help you with any questions or anything that, again, may have piqued your interest about the services that we offer at no cost to you as participating contractors. So with that, once again, I want to thank our partners over 3D Networks and the Motto, Mildred Melendez, Wendy Angel, for all their efforts in producing these outreach events for us. We appreciate their efforts. We want to give a big thank you to Council Member O'Farrell for joining us and welcoming the participants today, and for the council member staff for all their efforts in working with us to deliver this presentation to you, and to my own colleagues, Robert, Michelle, and all of us at Meriwether and Williams, thanking them, and more importantly, thanking each and every one of you for your time with us this afternoon. So with that, we wish you a great evening. Stay safe out there, and thank you again for participating in today's workshop.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to stay on for a few minutes just to see if anyone else has any questions. But thank you again, and thank you, Naveed, Robert, and everyone else who presented.